Hey everyone, it's Matt, aka Tech Ranger, and today we're going to take a look at some of the best graphics mods in Skyrim. We've done a video on this in the past. We've done a lot of videos on graphics mods in Skyrim. I did want to go back and look at this particular one, which is titled Best Graphics Mods in Skyrim, just so that we can go back and look at some of the mods that we've been using and then offer some alternatives. A lot of these mods I'm currently using in my load order, and we are always looking for new graphics mods to use, but in this video I thought it would be a good idea to go back and just take a look and see what these mods look like now as opposed to what they were back then. So without further ado, let's jump into the video. If you enjoy everything you see here, if you get some value out of the video, definitely feel free to leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more. Let's check out some of these graphics mods for Skyrim on the Xbox. Now the first mod that we looked at in that original video is Surreal lighting. Now this is just lighting, it's not a weather mod per se. It just affects contrast, brightness. It gives that purple hue to a lot of things, like that pinkish purple hue. And it looks really good with Skyrim and it gives you that fantasy vibe. It can be used with weather mods, only the ones that actually add weathers to the game, like True Storms. It doesn't remove anything from the game. It adds sun flares here and there, but it's not going to give you any weathers or anything like that unless you have a weather mod. Because of that, I started looking around for another mod that was similar and give me that same look but actually included weathers, and that mod was Mythical Wonders, although it would cost me another 80 megs in space. So as an example, here's what Surreal lighting looks like throughout the day. I actually ended up pairing this with Skyland Night Sky, which just affects the nighttime obviously, and then also natural clouds to give the clouds a little bit more texture, and then I think it just kind of all looks really good all together. So here's Mythical Wonders. It gives you the good looks of Surreal lighting, but it also gives you some presets to mess around with, like a default or Pixar for more color, or something like Fantasy, which gives it more of a fantasy look with that blurry background out in the distance. And you also get a bunch of weathers with it, so it's kind of a win-win situation. If you got the space, you might as well check it out and see how you like it. You can always go back to Surreal lighting if you need to. But once you take care of weather and the lighting in the game, it's time to look at some textures, right? Next up on the list is Skyland All-in-One. So you'll notice it is Skyland All-in-One now. So there's not different Skyland mods like there used to be. When I originally made that first video, it was actually divvied up into a few different mods, even like a 2K version and a 1K version. Now it's just all 1K, but it includes pretty much everything Skyland has to offer. And 1K meaning pretty much 1080p textures. So it's going to look pretty good. And that's, you know, on top of just the mod author going out of the park with this one. Things have been 3D scanned to show just the amount of detail in things like rocks and walkways and bridges, and it all looks amazing. And the best part now is this all-in-one version actually includes landscape textures for the DLC areas, which is another awesome addition. On top of any other Skyline graphics mods, they're all included into this one. There are some other Skyline mods that weren't added in just due to the size, like case in point, this next one we're going to look at is the Skyland LODs, or level of detail. In general, walking around, if you're playing for a long time, it does make a difference because you start to see stuff off in the distance pretty well. It makes the game feel just a little bit more immersive. There's been a lot of iterations of Skyland, so I wanted to give this update in this video just to show you that there has been some updates to the textures themselves, but then also because of that change of Skyland just being all-in-one now, all-inclusive. It used to be that Skyland all-in-one was actually split up into an architecture mod and a landscape mod. This was done after the 2.0 textures were made, but now since it's 3.0, there was a way to actually combine them all together, so you get all that Skyland goodness in one mod. And then if you want to add on to it with some of the other Skyland mods like LODs or Night Sky, for example, that I have, you can put them all together in your load order, so you're not having to guess where to put them. Next up, we have the High Poly Project, and this is one that I like to pair with Static Mesh Improvement mod because it kind of goes hand in hand with it. It increases the polygon count of a lot of the items that you see in the game, things like apples, bear claws, bedrolls, bread, just random objects in the game, and it makes the game feel a lot less like a video game and more like you're in an actual place with food that's actually shaped normally. That might be a stretch, but you understand where I'm coming from, right? It'll even round this coal that's on the ground. I thought it was something else for the longest time, but it's actually coal. So to pair this mod with Static Mesh Improvement mod, if you're using a lot of graphics mods, you probably don't have a ton of space, so I found the shrunken version that actually works pretty well with the high poly project, and I like the look of it. Sure, it's a little jagged around the edges. I don't know if that's really the fault of the Static Mesh Improvement mod. I always go to these little posts with the ropes on them to actually see if Static Mesh Improvement mod is working, because that's the main draw and that's what it does. And one of the other great things that it does is round these barrels on the dock and makes them look like barrels and less like video game barrels with low polygon counts. Now to round out our main texture mod, we're going to talk about Enhanced Texture Detail, which was a mod that we talked about in that original video, and there was some wizardry behind it. It uses the textures you're already using. It doesn't actually increase the resolution per se, but it does increase the UV maps, which is actually a larger version of like your original textures. Just takes that and just applies it to more things. Sure, if there's a mod author down below in the comments, let me know if I'm explaining that wrong. But essentially that's what it does, and it makes everything just look that much sharper. Not much else to say about it. However, there is another version of this mod. If you're using a version of Static Mesh Improvement mod, then you want to use the no overlap version. It's not going to be a big deal, but if you have the space, you can use a regular one, but if not, you can use the no overlap one. And to demonstrate this, here is me staring at 3 different things to show the difference between Enhanced Texture Detail and not Enhanced Texture Detail. So if you're like me, you're not noticing a huge difference here, and that's probably a testament to how good Skyland textures actually are. But this mod might be worth using if you're using another texture mod that might not look as good at the start, just to see how this mod actually takes it and enhances those textures. Last up is water mods. Now the mod we used in the original video was Realistic Water 2, which is by no means a bad water mod at all. It's an excellent water mod. Definitely recommend checking that out, but I did find one later on called Haze 2, which I really enjoyed. This one is actually pulled from the Haze 2 weather mod, but if you don't want to use the weather mod, or if you're using something else like Surreal lighting or Mythical wonders, you can just use the water mod because it is a standalone one. Just make sure you place it below all your textures, pretty much anything that touches anything that's near water. Otherwise you might get some weird, otherwise you might just end up getting your vanilla water textures back when you don't really want them. I like going back to Realistic Water 2 every now and then because I just really enjoy the look and how simple and, well, how realistic the water looks. So that is going to do it for this look at some of the best graphics mods in Skyrim, or at least the revisited version of that video that I did way back when. So let me know in the comments down below if you're actually using any of these mods. There's pretty much an endless supply of graphics mods, or it just seems that way. So we're going to be looking at more here on the channel, as well as listening to some of your suggestions in the comments, because otherwise I wouldn't have found things like Mythical Wonders or some of these other graphics mods that you guys have been recommending and suggesting. That's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Happy modding.